Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to Thunder Road Vendetta, the Maximum Chrome Edition. This is the racing demolition car game. It's really an interesting game. So you can check out part 1. This is part 2. You can go check out part 1 where we kind of do a brief overview of all the components, as well as go through the base game content and the rules of how to play. This video we're going to go through the expansions. We have the Big Rig Final 5 expansion, the Carnage at Devil's Run, and the Choppe Shoppe, which are the three big expansions. Then there are 2 smaller ones. There's Extra Ammo, which during the Kickstarter was a free edition, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be should be retail at some point, or at least like on their store. And then the final one is the stuff that came with the Maximum Chrome exclusive edition, which is Extra Crew Leader, goes with that, and the extra German engineering pack. Now, as far as I understand, there's nothing in the campaign that said it was Kickstarter exclusive only. The only exclusive content were these 2 things, which came with the Maximum Chrome, which is the big giant box that holds everything. If you get the Maximum Chrome edition, it's going to have all this content, unless they decide to release that box later on separately. Just for people that were picking up this expansion here, this and here, and they want to have a storage box, which they might do. I think, the game is just now getting a Kickstarter, so it's not going to probably hit retail for at least a month or 2. So I'm not sure what their plan is with that. End of this video, I will show how to fill that box up with all the different tokens. But for now, we want to look at our first major expansion, which adds some new stuff. So the base game just had cars in it. You have your small, medium, and large car, and your helicopter. So our first expansion, we are going to get the Big Rig, which they have. This rule book is really sweet, by the way. So we can look at our rule book quickly. We have all the different parts, how to play. We're going to part 2, the Big Rig, and the final 5. And so if we get to that, there is a page on here which has expansion setups, which explains how to do everything. For setting up your character, plus what's in each one. So choosing the Big Rig, assemble the parts of the Big Rig to make a long truck, place it in the starting area. Take the Big Rig front tab board and the section boards for custom movement, dice, chopper, and 10 minor damage tokens. Depending on which side the road tiles on, you'll be helpful flip the bigs to face the direction as the road tiles. Maybe it's like whatever direction you're facing. So if you're playing on the other side, you might want, it's saying you could kind of reverse these around. I get what you're saying. And then if you're playing the final 5, which are the motorcycles, you take the 5 miniatures, 6 movement dice, chopper, and 5 damage tokens, and place them on a board in a row. So it says the Big Rig and final 5 motorcycles do not use crew leaders or car upgrades, being as neither of them are cars. But can be used as the same thing. So you can take these guys which they play differently. The cars can get special upgrades in the expansions. So if we take our Big Rig, we're going to get, so instead of having the 3 little boards, we're going to have one big long interconnected board, which has rear, mid, and front. And they're all the large size, so they have the same symbol on there. And then each one has a special effect. Now it flips over the other direction as well. It's just saying, like, if your tiles were going the other direction, or if that helps you, you could play the other direction. Front large and that. So we're gonna have it this way, assuming our vehicle is going that direction. And then you get the Big Rig front, which has, again, double-sided, so you can put it on either way. So it's easier to remember this is your backside versus, threw the rule book on the floor way under my table. Alright, here's professionalism for you. Yeah, so you can have it that way. So you have all these different cards. Now, mechanically, the games work exactly the same. This works the exact same as the cars. I'm going to back up a bit so you can see all of it. You still get all your dice. And you roll your dice and you place dice on different parts. But it does have a couple of different rules. So we have our large front piece. We have the middle piece. which then has these little things, so it slaps on there. And then we have our small caboose. So the way this guy works is he takes up 3 tiles at a time. And then you have your 4 dice, just like the other guys, and you have a chopper. So you get a chopper effect as well. Yeah, so mechanically this plays the same way. You get to roll your dice, you place 1 dice each time, but it does have a few slight rules to it. Alright. So on your cards, you still have your assign, command, move, and shoot. So assigning has a basis of on each of your turns before assigning a movement on one of your dice sections, assign 1 movement dice to the hydraulic steering command on your front tab. This will indicate the number of lane cages we'll be able to make this round. So what this means is, let me slide my board up, put this up there a little bit, and see a little bit better. So we have our big rig up here. It says hydraulic. Any dice, you may change lanes this number of times per round. So instead of the other ones where you get the 4th dice you can use for command actions from your crew leader or your character, your driver, or you can or using them for coasting, you roll your 4 dice, which we rolled super terribly, so we're going to re-roll again, so we can get some. I am just terrible. I got all 1s and 2s. Oh, it's because they're all 1s and 2s and 3s. Okay. Here I thought I was rolling terrible. There's a 1, a 1, a 1, a 2, a 2, and a 3. Yeah, so I thought I'm just rolling really terrible. No, it's because there's nothing available. So that's the distinction between these guys and like the cars. The cars can roll up to 6, could have a lot higher movement points. These guys have less. But what you do is then you pick one of your guys. So if I pick 2 and I put it there, that lets my rig move 2 spaces. So like right now, I am headed towards impassable objects. This is actually a very bad spot for my rig to be. I never should probably try driving on this side, because I have to get out of these areas one way or the other to be able to. Otherwise, I am going to lose. And the thing is, I only have 2 lane changes. So I could put 3 if I needed to, but I also have to counter that with how many different dice I have. If I'm only going to be able to use the 3 dice, how many times am I going to be allowed to do that before I might run into something? So that's what I have to calculate. So if I want to get past these 3, I have to move 1, 2, 3 spaces. I want to get past these 2, I can do 1, 2. So 2 would be fine for me to get by there, assuming nobody does anything to mess me up. And so then during each of your turns, your three turns you get, assigning an unused movement dice command to one of the 3 sections on your board. The value of the dice determines how many moves the bigger it gains during the move step. You may now assign dice to a section which you have previously assigned a dice. Repair commands require a value of 3, and you may assign a die to a damage command. This only moves the rig, does not activate the command. So what this means is each section of the board has 3 different things. The middle one's always repair, so you can repair with any rig or any piece. But if I assign this 3, for example, to the first rig, I get to move 3 spaces. And then on my next turn, I can put 1 on this one, and I can put 1 on this one. So I get to move 3 different times. So with this current set of dice, over my 3 rounds, I'm going to get a total of 5 movement points with 2 lane changes. I could alternatively have switched it and done 3 and only had 4 movement points, which is an option as well. It just might depend on, do you want the higher movement? Do you need to move quicker? Can you move later? What do I need to get rid of? Now, like, 3 movement would definitely be a lot more helpful with 2 lane changes, because I could always try and get by this a lot quicker. But the thing is, I can only change lanes twice, so even though I can move 3 times, this wouldn't help me go through it. Well, I'll explain why that is in just a sec. So we have command. Activate command, you assign the movement to your dice. So the cars all get movement points, they're higher movement, but you only get 1 die which you can use once per round towards command. The bigger it gets a command every turn, and it has a lot more chance to repair. So it's going to move slower, but it's going to do extra stuff every time it does it. Then when you move, each turn the big rig gains move equal to the value of your dice. You'll move the entire rig regardless of what section. It moves like a train. When moving your big rig, move straight forward unless you use your hydraulic steering. Big rig does not use the roll dice unless you activate transaction drive. So, hydraulic steering, you assign the number of steering to move to the front left or the front right during that round. If you want to move the front left or right, reduce the number of die. You may do this more than once in a single turn, provided you move it. So, how this guy works is if I'm way back here and I move 3 spaces, I go 1, 2, 3. Everything moves. So I don't have 3 separate actions, so I'm going to eventually move 2 more spaces so I can have 5 more. Now, I started right here before, and what I did was I have my 3 movement points and my 2 hydraulic. So what I probably want to do, since I can only adjust twice, is every time you adjust, your car goes up 1 into that spot. So if I adjusted up into that one, then my car is going to be like this, essentially. So that would be 1 space. And then if I moved up into that one, it's going to be like that. It's going to be 2 spaces. The problem here would be, is every time I do that, and I reduce this dice down, and then I eventually take it off. So if I did this, my 3rd dice would have to be into this object, which would destroy me. So what I have to do with this vehicle is do 3 movement, do 1, 2, do my 3rd one here, drop that down. Then during my next turn, I could place this one, move 1 more die up into that one, get rid of this, and then my 3rd action, place my last 1 die to move 1 more space. And now these guys are going to keep following that, so they're not going to hit that. So it's kind of an interesting mechanic, because you can set up different things on the road to block more areas for the things, but you also have to worry about potentially running over more stuff or trying to dodge around things a little bit harder. But definitely a neat mechanic. Alright, so we have some extra rules for a massive. The bigger is considered one. It's considered to be on the road tile in the front section, so if the last one falls off, he stays on there. Sturdy, big road ever be moved or stopped by an effect, such as an oil slick, toxic goo. It is not moved or stopped. Instead, it takes 1 minor damage on a command of your choice. Place an off-road token on the board. If there was another token on the board, remove it. The space is now an off-road space. Dependable, if it enters an impassable space, it is not eliminated. So now I was just talking about going around there. This guy actually drives through these impassable spaces. So now, like I was saying, my initial thing is I would have got my guy like this. He would have died if he was a regular car. But because he's the big rig, instead I take these special double-sided bases. I just put that there, and he just crashes right through that giant rock. He doesn't care. He keeps moving. So that gives him a lot more maneuverability. But the problem is he takes a point of damage. So the other characters, the cars all take these special damage tiles, which then have special effects on them. The big rig doesn't. It gets one of these minor X's. And then on the board, which we'll look at when I get closer, you put one of these on there, which basically cancels out one of your abilities. So if I got 2 on this one, now when I go to play on one of my rounds later, or turns or rounds later, I could put the dice on any 3 of these, but I can't use the abilities. And then if you get all the tokens filled up, you lose the game, if you fill up all 3 of them. And it says solid. If any section of the bigger ends on a space with a chopper, the bigger is not eliminated. Instead, it takes 1 minor damage to a command choice. The chopper is removed from the board. Player may use it later turn. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Is this thing, instead of just taking 2 little damages on each one that it flipped over, it can take a bunch of damage, but it shuts off their abilities. Slamming. Any road vehicle that collide with the big rig on top of it, and then only roll the direction die. So that would be, so again, let's get one of my cars out here. If I have this guy and he slams into him, he goes on top. Now, typically you roll the red die if it's the top or bottom. Since it's always the largest, I just roll the direction die, and just my car gets shoved off. So my car gets shoved back to where it was. A car cannot crash into the big rig and move it. Pretty easy there. Shooting. Use the front or back end to shoot. And it says for getting shot. Each section of the big rig is treated as a separate location. So if they choose a different one, an opposing vehicle can shoot the section of a bigger in its front arc. So the shooting player must choose which command to shoot before rolling. Each section has 2 possible commands. You cannot target repair. So it's showing like taking damage. So that would be, if they want to get rid of this, they could target that, shoot it, and if they roll it, then they do damage to that section, and that eliminates my ability. If the bigger is eliminated, if ever has 6 total damage on it, so 2 for each spot. If it gets dumped off the end of the road, if only all of its sections are off the big road. So that's the major thing there. Now we do have, this is what I love about this rule book. So we have a little description there kind of showing how that works. He just drives over them terrains. A little bit more information on each section, which we'll look over in just a sec here. We'll actually grab that and take a look at what all of these do. So our rear end, we have Hazard Dispenser. After you move, place a face-down hazard token on an adjacent space to your rear tab. So that's kind of nice. And then targeting computer. When shooting, you may turn. This turn, you may re-roll the shooting dice. It gives you some extra things to do with that. In the middle, we have Traction Die. You can use the Road Die on this turn. So normally, doesn't gain a benefit from our road Die, but you can use that ability to use it. Or he has Airstrike, so you can use your chopper. Then Missile Launcher. After you move, roll the shooting dice. Each vehicle on or adjacent to the space. 2 spaces in front of you takes one damage if they're hit by the roll. And Cow Catcher. The first time you enter a space with a hazard or a car. If it's a hazard, remove it. If it's a car, the car's controller moves it to the left. Moves it to the front left or front right. So basically you can shove people off to the side. Or you can get rid of a hazard without taking that extra damage. I did want to look at the shooting. Oh yeah, so here we had showing that the has a rear arc for the shooting or hazard or the hazard. So you can shoot out the back as well. So it also makes the bigger a little bit more of a pain because it can shoot from the backside. Alright, so that is our big rig expansion. Definitely adds a different element. So again, everyone else can have cars. Have 3 different cars you can move, separate around the board, do stuff. The big rig has some other different rules, but it's also stuck together. But it gives an interesting new gameplay. The second new vehicle we get are the motorcycles. So you get a team of motorcycles, which kind of like the cars, can go all over the place. Have their own special dice, have their own special rules. So we have a board for them. So you're going to have their special command board, which is, again, double-sided, depending on which direction you want to play it. Then they have 5 motorcycles. Alright, so they line up. The first one, they kind of line up in a semi-order, because some have notches in, some have notches out. But now, these guys are all considered small vehicles. So, like, where the big rig is all considered a large vehicle on each portion, these are all considered small. But you get 5 different motorcycles. You also get 6 dice instead of 4, so they get some extra dice. And then they have their helicopter as well. So everyone always gets a helicopter. So that's nothing different there. But they do have a couple other different rules here. So, during your turn, it says you roll all 6 dice. Each turn assign 2 of your unused dice to 2 motorcycles. Once per round, you may instead assign 1 of your one die to your motorcycles and 1 to your commander. So like a car, instead of rolling 4 dice, you roll 2. Now you have 6 dice, you have 5 motorcycles, and 1 extra. So you can always, you can always add 1 of these into your bike. So this particular bike is going to go 5 spaces, and I could put my 2 on my command board over here, and I could use my nitro once per round. They also have the ability to coast, just like a regular car. So you can use that for a coast on one of them instead. So in that sense, they basically play exactly like a car. They do have a couple additional things. So for movement, if you assign to move 2 motorcycles, choose one to move it, then shoot, then move and shoot with the other one. Look at the markings to make sure the correct motorcycle is moved. Drifting. So this is what makes them a little bit more special as well. While moving, all motorcycles drift through all other road vehicles without causing a slam. If a motorcycle enters the same space as another road vehicle, do the slam as normal. Cars do not drift through motorcycles unless they use their drift. So cars have to specifically use the drift command to ignore that first slam through cars. Motorcycles can drive freely through them. So a motorcycle can just, drive right through all of them. No big deal. So that makes them a little bit more versatile. Unlike the semi or the big rig, which is going to run everything over. Then when they do slam, though, they're opposite of a big rig. So a motorcycle and other vehicles share the space. Don't stack them. Put them next to each other instead. They will still slam. Resolving a slam, the motorcycle and other vehicle only roll the direction that the motorcycle always moves. So if this guy ended his turn here, or if the car ended his turn there, you just roll the guy. We got 1 forward. It's going to shove the motorcycle forward. So big rig, you run into it, you're always going to get shoved away. Motorcycle, always going to get pushed away. Makes sense. Big, small cars. And then taking damage. Motorcycle takes a minor point of damage and becomes inoperable. Turn the motorcycle face backwards, flip it over. So, like a vehicle, like a car, if it gets hit, gets flipped over, it takes 1 minor damage. So we have these little X's we had for the big rig. They just kind of slot into the bottom down there to show they've taken that damage as well. Just does make these guys a little bit more vulnerable. You have 5 instead of 3, like the cars, but cars overall then can take 2 damage each. That's 6 damage. Big rig takes 6 damage, but it's always going to stay intact. Where cars, you can lose them, or have ones that do less stuff each turn. These guys, you can lose 1 after each hit. So that makes them a little bit more tricky. And then they each have markings on them. So if we grab all these back up at the top we have a swirly line, an X, a triangle, a circle, and double lines. And then if we look at each of the little miniature motorcycles, they're kind of cool. Little rider on there. So you have like the V or triangle. We have the circle. Kind of hard to see these. There's an X and a squiggly line. And a 2 lines. Now, it's kind of neat to use little symbols versus just being like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But yeah, so they add that extra thing. And then we have their command board. So any dice can use the airstrike. 1 to 2 does nitro. Or a 6 repairs. Remove 1 damage from your motorcycle. So if we compare that to a car is also 6 for repair. Nitro is 1 to 3, so they nitro a little bit quicker, and then they salvage. They just don't have that drift ability, right? So there, that's kind of cool there. And their dice are the same thing. It's 1 through 6, nothing special there. That's our first expansion. All right, so we're going to pause the video a second and head into the second expansion. We also have a bunch of these tiles as well, which you could use if you wanted to, even just create your own custom game. Place them on the board ahead of time. Oh, sorry, I have my camera over there. You place them on the board ahead of time to, change the terrain if you'd like. So it's always a neat thing as well. Alright, we're going to pause for a sec. I'm going to set up the stuff for the next expansion. Alright, for our second expansion, we have the Carnage at Devil's Run. So this is going to add some new fire elements, some new hazards, damage tokens, ongoing effects, and some brand new tiles. To mix these in, just mix everything together. Add the new tiles, the old stuff, ongoing and fire token, decks and cards set aside. All that stuff. Alright, so we're going to then jump into... I want to look at the damage tiles first. Alright. I went to the wrong page. Where is this one? The board. All right, we have the board. So we have five new tiles, double sided. So you have 10 new boards to play on. You have all these different elements. We're gonna look at what those all do here first. First of all, we have desert glass. This space becomes. Oh, these are hazard tokens. But there have some of the same elements on there. We have desert glass. We can have ramps. We can have fire spaces, and we can have pit traps. It says roll the shooting die against the vehicle that revealed the trap. If it's a hit, the vehicle is eliminated. Otherwise, it may continue to move. If it has moved up, the pit trap remains on the board and is treated as an impassable space. So we're going to get hazard tokens, which are our red ones here. We have one that's a pit trap. So this can fall on the board. And then, you might get eliminated, might add an extra thing. And then we have 2 other hazards. We'll look at the hazards while we're here, then we'll go over what the other ones are when we get to the spots. We have Quake and Sandworm. So here's a Sandworm tile. And a Quake tile. Of course, because I'm looking for one, I won't be able to find it, right? It is going to be a, shockwave or a crack with some direction tokens on it. Also neat though, they have the little X's on their black so they stand out, kind of like the other ones. So don't you discard them right away. But a Quake tile says roll a direction dice, move all road vehicles one space that direction simultaneously, so that could cause some big disasters. Or the Sandworm, eliminate the road vehicle that is farthest back on the board. If more than one vehicle is tied for that position, eliminate each one of them. So between those two and the pit traps, they can cause a lot of extra damage. Alright, here's what we're looking for. Our terrain tiles. We have, and they'll be noted in this big book by that symbol, toxic goo. The road vehicle enters a toxic goo space, it stops and loses the rest of its move. Now the big rig can run through these, of course, but the rest of them get stuck. Desert glass. When a road vehicle enters the glass space, it immediately moves one space in the direction it was already moving without using any moves. Ramp. The vehicle can only enter a ramp from the space directly behind it, so you have to be right in front of it. When it does, roll a stunt die and move that many spaces directly forward, ignoring all spaces in between. After landing, lose all remaining moves. If the road vehicle enters a ramp space from other space, it is eliminated. So this is making the game a lot more dangerous. We have fire. When a road is on fire, catches fire, places an on fire token on that vehicle's dashboard. Must roll a fire dice before moving, which we'll see on step 20. Or page 20, we'll switch to that in a minute. And then salt flats. A road enters a salt flat space. It may use the road dice for this turn regardless of whether or not it has only moved on road spaces. Alright, so let's take a look at the tiles here, is what I wanted to do before we get into some of the other mechanics of the game. We have the drifts. So yeah, this is breaks up a lot more than just road, mud, and that. We're going to have some ramps, so you can ramp through these things. But you have to, again, hit your ramp from the backside. There we have some toxic goo at the bottom. Slow your guys down. But you can definitely make, try to run through these things a little bit more treacherous. Do you try and stick on the regular road? Do you try and take a ramp and get some extra distance? But you might end up running into, a hazard or landing in goo, depending on how well you roll. The other side, we have the rumble strip. So it's kind of neat. You have ramps, try and run over these impassable objects, but you may not do very good. Now, the thing is, remember, you're rolling this stunt dice. Stunt dice is 1, 2, 3, and 4 with double 2s and double 3s. So if you're trying to hit this ramp here, and you roll a 3, 1, 2, 3, you just crashed and lost. You roll this one, 1, 2, 3, you're fine. You roll a 2, you can land there, but then now you better hope that you can, get around right away. So yeah, it's risky, but that's the whole point of this expansion, is it's upping the risk factor of everything. Here we have the salty dogleg. You can slide into the salt and then use that road dice. Flip it over, we have the war zone. A lot more impassable objects. We have some ice. We have some salt flats. So with the ice is, again, if your car moves onto it, it slides one more space. So if I have my big rig here, or my big car, and I hit this, I get one extra space. Now, if I hit this one this direction, it forces me into that, and I get destroyed. So the only way you can really do this is go like this, and it'll flip you up that way. Same thing as if you hit this one, it would move you that way. So yeah, that way, but then now I'm right in front of an impassable object. So it's going to add some deadly hazards. Here's a bunch more like that. Like some of them are lined up where I get somehow up into here, and then now I could slide all the way down here. But again, you're going to, it might end your turn in a bad spot. Some more impassable objects in random spots. That was called the Zag. And then we have the Serpent's Tongue, which had these fire spots. Some more goo spots. Definitely going to make the game a little bit more hazardous. The Scorcher. Look at this one. Look at all that fire on that one. Now, I wish, the only thing I guess I wish is, I know there's only 10 tiles, 5 of each side, so 10 total. There's only so much you can do, but it would have been neater if they had some that had just ramps, some that had just salt flats, some that had just the goo, some that had just fire. Instead of combining all the elements into one tile all the time. Like this one not so bad, having like one ramp. Okay, cool. The Ring of Fire. But again, you have the goo in there. Like, they just didn't have the goo. Maybe had like another ramp. Maybe had 2 of the elements, but I think sometimes they're just trying to throw too much in at once. And then this one has the Glass Oasis. So again, glass, fine. Ramp, fine. But then adding the goo as well, might be a little bit too much. But again, but at least it thematically all stays the same. But like if you're playing all of these tiles in a row, they're thematically gonna all be themed. Lots of junk, salt, this, that. But if you just randomly mix them with all the other 5 original tiles, if you just had one that was like an oasis, we hit this patch of ice, or we hit this someone set up a bunch of fire, or someone put a bunch of goo in this one, would have made more sense than like here's a big open area. Noticing now we have all these hazards, and the next area is all open. But that's just sort of my thought on it. So we're going to go ahead and just lay these guys down. We'll lay 2 of these down for just to have something on the board, on the table to look at. And we're going to look at some of the other effects. Alright, so I'm going to lay my blue car back out here. There's all of my abilities. And then we're going to hop to page 20 and look at that fire dice. Alright, so on fire. So if a cars and motorcycles catch fire, one of the following happens. Moves on to a fire space. So if we drive onto a fire space, giving an on-fire token such as a crew member's flamethrower command, or a car takes damage and draws a fire damage token. So we do have our brand new on-fire damage tokens, which you could potentially get. During your move step, before moving, the vehicle has an on-fire token. Roll the fire dice and apply it. So then what happens if I get this on fire on my large car there? So let's slide this over a bit. I still take this, but now what happens is I grab one of these fire tokens and I put it on my board. So I know that I'm on fire. They give you a lot of these. So there's actually enough for... if you're playing 4-player games, for all 12 cars, medium for each color, to be on fire, all 5 motorcycles, and then they actually give you 3 more for the extra that you could have, maybe just as extra pieces, or if you want to try and set the rig on fire, but that doesn't really work, because the rig doesn't get set on fire. So it acts differently, so we'll look at that to see how that works, but there's enough to cover every car could be on fire. Then you just roll the special fire dice. Big chunky yellow dice. It's not nice. It's the same size as the other specialty dice, but they are bigger than your regular dice, which helps them stand out a little bit more. So you roll these. This is going to have a +1, a +2, a skull, a second +2. So 2 +2s, +1s, and 2 exhaustions. So if you get +1 or +2, you move your vehicle. Increase the vehicle's move by this turn. This may result in movement higher than 6. You must move the full amount. So you already have assigned your dice. So basically you'll assign, I'm moving, I roll my dice. I'm like, oh, I have all 4s and 5s. I'm going to move my guy 5 spaces. Now, when it comes to my move step, I roll my fire dice. I have a +1, so he's going to have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, let's say we're going to try and avoid that hazard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although if I technically have stopped on the goo, it would have stopped my turn anyhow. So there's nothing much I can get around that. But you then have to move your 5. Then you'd have to move your +1 for being on fire. Or you could get the fire goes out, puts the token out, move as normal. Or if you get randomly get that skull, 1 of 6 chances, you're automatically eliminated. Fire tokens do not count as damage. If a car or motorcycle becomes inoperable, remove the on fire token. Vehicle is already on fire, cannot take additional tokens, would be ignored. So yeah, there is an interesting idea there is you can shoot your own vehicles to damage them. So if your car's on fire, you could shoot it if it already had 1 damage token, try and give it another damage token. That becomes inoperable, which sucks, but at least the idea there is that you could try and repair it on the next turn or next round, versus having to accidentally roll this flaming skull, and that 100% gets eliminated and there's nothing to avoid it. So there's an option there. Then the other thing we have for this expansion are ongoing damage cards, which I need to find the damage section. Taking damage, choppers. Alright, so before we look at the ongoing damage cards, the Big Rig says, if playing Carnage Double Draw expansion, Big Rig should not catch fire from any effect. If the Big Rig enters a fire space, it takes 1 minor damage on command of your choice. Remove any token on the space, replace an off-road token. So it does the same thing as if it runs into any other hazard, it just replaces it. It doesn't actually get an on-fire token. Alright, so then we had our other type of damage token is ongoing effect. So you get one of these, you draw an ongoing effect card. So again, we'll play with our large car here since we have one. We'll get that. You'll flip that over, show he's taking damage. Then you draw from this deck of mini cards here. I have a bunch of different symbols on there. Your warning lights, essentially. Temperature, gauge, battery, gas, all that stuff. So you draw an ongoing effect card, draw it, place it face up in the available damage slot, place a damage token on top of it. Card remains in effect until it's repaired. When the damage is repaired, remove both tokens and place them in their respective piles. Yeah, so this is kind of a neat little set of cards here. So I'm going to redo my thing here. One sec. Alright, so for these ongoing ones here, it looks like we're going to get 2 copies of each. Except for, I think, one of them. Yeah, 2 of each except for one, which I'll point that one out when we get to it. We could get a Shattered Windshield. If this car is ever inoperable, eliminate it. So yeah, this gets 1 damage token on it. You definitely want to get rid of that. Otherwise, if it gets another damage token, it automatically goes away. We have Faulty Airbags. So if this car enters a space with a face-down hazard token, eliminate it. Do not flip the hazard token. Transmission failure. Before this car moves, set its movement guide to 3. It cannot gain additional movement. Bald tires. Whenever the direction guide moves this car, move it 1 extra space in the same direction. Loose wiring. Before the car moves, roll the direction guide, move this car 1 space in that direction. We have a nitro leak. When you assign a guide to this card, set it to 6. If this card is involved in a slam, eliminate it. These are very deadly cards. We have a dead alternator. When another card drives off the lead tile, eliminate this card. Lost tools. This card cannot be repaired unless one of your other cards is adjacent. Exposed hardware. When another player shoots this card, reroll they may reroll the shooting dice. We have bent frame. If another car slams into this car moves. Do not roll the slam dice. Should automatically force a move. And then the one where we only have one copy of it is Crack Flywheel. This car must be the first car you move each round if able. Yeah, so these definitely add an interesting element, like all the rest of the Devil's Carnage, or Carnage at Devil's Canyon, or whichever it's called. It's going to make the game more deadly. So you can play the regular game, and just, hey, everything's, it's dodging bullets, cars, all this stuff. You can add this to make a lot more, hazardous tiles. Some of the hazards are a lot worse. Things like that, like these special tokens here make it a lot harder to do stuff. And you can add, what's neat though is the way the game can be played is you can add as few or as many of these things as you want to the game. So like if I got this, then you basically do that. So that way it has a crack flywheel. But yeah, so you could just add these cards as ongoing effects, just add the on fire. I don't want to play with the on fire, I just want to play with the ongoing. Or vice versa, I don't really like these, they're too difficult, just play with the on fire tokens. Don't even use these boards, just use them in the other game. Different stuff like that. Again, you don't use any of these tiles if you don't like all them extra hazards, but you can add all the extra new hazards and get the traps, the fire, the quake, the ice, jumps, stuff like that. Alternative, like I also say with the basic tiles, what you could do with some of these is you could put them in to replace stuff if you wanted to. Like you want to make your own board. Hey, there's not enough glass on this one. I don't like the goo. Just, replace all these glass tile, or goo here, glass tiles. And you could always potentially just start the game with them. If you want to customize your board a little bit, you want to add a ramp in the middle of this fire. Hey, I get to there, I can ramp over that if I ran through all this fire, because you have to come through the fire to do it. So that might not be the best spot for it, but you can definitely use these extra hazards to do stuff. Place more I keep wanting to say inoperable. That's not the right word. Inaccessible traps. That would have been the only thing I would have maybe liked for this this game in general, if they would have added more tiles to be able to do stuff like that as well, not just hazards. Have them be hazards, but let me add more goo tiles somewhere. Let me add mud tiles. More road tiles. I would even just love an expansion that's just tiles. I would still give them all the hazard back. Just because I know I get your point, like you wouldn't all of a sudden just come across maybe, some of these things essentially might not, see them, but like be able to change some of the tiles around and do different stuff to set up the game might be a really cool idea. Alright, so that's what we have for that expansion. I'm going to pause setup for the last expansions. Alright, for our next expansion we have the Choppe Shoppe. The Choppe Shoppe is going to add 11 crew commanders to the board. Well, I guess technically it's 10, because the 11th one was part of the maximum chrome expansion box. So I'm not going to go back to the El Burko here. He's a special one. So we have 10 regular ones. We have some command tokens and some upgrade cards and some extra tokens. So using the crew leaders, basically you're going to replace their command board. Using new crew. As new crew leaders, only car crews may use them, not the boards or the cars or the motorcycle, or the big rig or the motorcycle, because they have different effects and stuff. It says shuffle the crew leaders and command boards, deal 2 randomly each player. Each player chooses one, discards the other. So however you want to select them is basically it's saying. Take the number of command tokens from the supply equal to the number of stars on the bottom. So using, and then the upgrade cards. Just quick how I set that up is you deal 4 to each player. Each player simultaneously chooses one from their hand, places it face down. After all players choose, they pass the remaining repeat until each player has 3 upgrades and return the original. So you kind of do like a draft of it. then that way everyone gets a couple of different cards. But you'll get 3 upgrades. Assign 1 of your upgrades to each of your cards face down. So that's your setup. So how do crew leaders work? So here is one of our crew leaders. We have Vince Vamp, the Necromancer. So he's going to have his 4 things. So basically what you're going to do is, this was your original command board. This is now going to replace it. So then when I set this up on the board, I'll just set that. It'll slide in nicely there next to my small car. But then now these guys have a couple of things. It's going to show he gets 1 command token. So you have this pile of command tokens you get to be able to use. So he has 1. Some of the guys have different ones. So if we look at Chris Crass, the fastest of the fast, has 2 tokens. Each one has different numbers. But yeah, then you get to use your abilities like just the same way. So this guy still has Airstrike, Nitro, and Drift, but instead of having Repair, I threw my card over there, my one over there, he doesn't have the Repair, he has Pain Transfer instead. So he gets a different ability. Backside, just picture the cars. So each crew has a special power. They indicate at the top of the card you do not need to assign dice to use that power. And then they have new commands. Some crew leaders have commands with a command icon next to a number. You can only use the command using 1 of your tokens. So they give some special rules for some of them. So each turn you may assign 1 command token to one of your commands that does not already have a die, or another command token assigned to it. So you just still use your regular extra die to possibly do it, but you get these tokens to use extra different ones. So some characters have 1, some have 2, some might have 3. They give you different amounts that let you using extra thing, but you can use them tokens once per turn until you run out. And then at the end of the round, you discard all assigned tokens and add them back. So at the end of every round, you can use them. So basically what this is doing, giving you different effects, making each character play differently, giving you special effects. So your special abilities up here at the top. But then your commands down here can change a little bit. Each player can get probably like 1 different thing. But it does make each player a little bit more unique. And then the fact is you have commands you can use every turn outside of your dice also change how stuff can do. As it says, you'll activate command during step 2 as if you assigned a die. Can be addition to a different command. As a result, you can use 2 commands during your turn, because you use the one that you played, as well as the die you use once per round. When assigning a command token to a command that can have a range value, use the lowest. For example, Nitrous is 1 to 4, you always use 1. So although they're really nice to use, they're going to limit what you can do with them. So, alright, we're going to go ahead and just look at some of these cards. I'm going to try and see if I can get these all into frame. They're not going to sit very well, but we will see what we can do. Alright, so here we have Vance. His Soul Siphon. When you shoot another road vehicle and hit it, remove a damage token from one of your cards. So this is the way he can heal. Airstrike, Nitro, and Drift all work the same. Although they do have different numbers, just to point that out. So Nitro is 1 to 3, and Drift is 3 to 5. His are 1 to 2. So he can't, if he was a Nitromancer, he can't Nitro as fast, as you only go 1 to 2. But he can also drift a little bit easier. A little bit wider range in there. Lower range, maybe. And then for 6, he has Pain Transfer, so instead of Repair. So as you may move a face-down damage token from one of your cards to another. So you can kind of move your cards around to where they need to be. So that's very interesting. So yeah, that's kind of his deal. He only gets 1 token. We have, our second one, we have Cruft the Scrap Merchant, who has Trashing the Treasure. When your car enters a space with a face-down hazard token, gain a command token, then flip the hazard token face up. So he starts with none. You have to hit a hazard to be able to get this. He still has Airstrike, Nitro, and Drift with different numbers again. And then he has Repair, but his Repair can only be used with that hazard token. So it's interesting because he can gain these tokens, but it sounds like he can gain more than what he would start with. Like everyone else only has the 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever they always have, he can keep gaining more by running into hazards. But then he has to spend them, but it sounds like he'll come right back at the end of the turn. So starts off with none. Everyone else starts off with multiple abilities they can use each turn, but as he hits hazard, he could get 2, 3, 4. Just as you hit hazards, you have more risk of, bad things happening to you. We have Crisscross, the faster the fast chase red line. Then your cars are assigned a movement die of 6, treated as 7 instead. Airstrike Nitro and Repair as well. Her Repair is her star mechanic card. So you don't have to roll a 6, which is kind of nice. When you need for speed, change the value of all your unassigned dice to this value. So that's kind of helpful. If you roll really low, but you have 1, 4, or 5, you could place this there instead and then make all your other dice 4 or 5. But maybe you want to go low, maybe you don't. Very interesting. Our fourth one is Madame Bordeaux the Prophet. She shares third eye at the beginning of the round. Peek at 1 hazard token. That's kind of helpful. Airstrike Nitro and Repair as well, but then she also has Called Shot. When you shoot this turn, you may automatically hit. One thing I wish they'd done is kept the Airstrike Nitro Repair in the same spot on every board. And then just swapped out the other one for the other spot. That would have been kind of nice. But I think they're trying to keep the numbers like any to like low to high. But yeah, so when you call a shot, when you shoot this turn, you may automatically hit. That's nice. If you roll a 6, you can guarantee a hit. So there's 4 of them. Here is Machine Gun Joe Esquire, the Bullet King. Objection. When you shoot, you may reroll the shooting dice. Airstrike, Nitro, Drift, and Repair. So he keeps the same things. So he just gets extra shooting mechanic. Yes, not bad. His Nitro is only a 1, though. Doesn't really Nitro very fast, but he has 2 extra things. He can spend 2 extra abilities during the turns. We have Abigail, the Street Sergeant. Spotter. When you shoot, if another of your operable cards is adjacent to your target, you automatically hit. So you have a couple different guys that use just shooting as a thing. Airstrike, Nitro, Drift, and Repair. Again, same thing. Repair's a little bit cheaper. This is the first character seen with 3 command points. Asha, the Road Mistress. Jury Rigging. Ignore the effects of damage tokens. Place them face down. So she still takes the damage, just ignores them. Her Repair is a 1. So I don't know, is 1 better than 6? Is it really any different? Nitro, Drift, and Airstrike. Her Airstrike becomes a little bit harder because she has to get 5 or 6 where everyone else is usually any. But definitely interesting. But there's a thing, she has 3 tokens. She can spend, she can just go ahead and take damage, and then she can keep spending one of them tokens to do a repair each turn. Very interesting. We have Bumpo the Clown, the Bumpmeister. Junk in the Trunk. If your car would move into a slam, you may re-roll the direction dice. Oh, that's kind of cool. So if you take a hit, you can decide, you have a little bit of option of where you're going to go. Airstrike, Nitro, and Repair, but he also has Bump. The first time you slam this turn, only roll the direction die and move the other car. That's kind of cool. But he does start with, he has no command points. You have to spend your dice to do that. Alright, we got 2 more to go for these guys. We have Miss Betty the Tinkerer. Bring the Bling. After drafting upgrades, draw an extra upgrade card. Your large card can have 2 upgrades. Oh, that's kind of cool. She gets an extra upgrade. Airstrike, Nitro, Repair, and Tinkerer. Discard an upgrade for one of your cards. Draw a new upgrade for that card. So if you had guys that done with bumping, shooting, repair, some damage stuff, hazards, like you're playing to each of the different aspects. Then our last one here is Wong Li Hong, the Marksman. Long Arm of the Law. You may shoot a target 2 spaces away, so he has extra range. Airstrike, Nitro, Drift, and Repair. Again, I don't mind the extra shooting stuff to an extent because, or like getting the target or do stuff because you have to be already within range of someone to do it. So it's not gonna, this stuff's not gonna hit every turn. But definitely interesting things there. Alright, then the next thing we want to look at are our upgrade cards. So we have a deck of these. So they say upgrades are unique abilities for the car that are assigned to you. They only apply to that car and not other cars owned by that player. Once assigned, it cannot be moved. While a car is inoperable, its upgrade is inactive. When it is repaired, it is active again. So this kind of sits on top of the car. So this is what's also neat. They literally designed these to have a space on the top for them. They have a space on the bottom for your 2 damage tokens. They have a space on the top for that. Like, they designed all these little nooks and crannies of all these different cards to really fit, to really fit everything. So if, like, I was playing with this guy here, it'll slide in there. That'll go there. Damage tokens can go down here. They lined all these up to work really well with each other. Which is really cool. Alright, so we're going to look at all these different upgrade cards and see what neat things we have. We have rear guns. I'll zoom my camera in a little bit. This card can shoot any adjacent space. So that's super helpful. We already shoot the front 3, now you got the back 3. Gives your car that advantage that the big rig has. Stealth technology. A vehicle may not shoot this car if there's another vehicle they could shoot. We have the mine dispenser. After you move, you may place a mine in an empty space adjacent to your car. Limit 3 per game. So we're going to get these extra mine tokens, which have the hazard symbol, but they also have the little gear, and they're going to be a little bit different color. So they have the same idea as being a hazard, but they're a lighter red. And the idea is because they're for the upgrades. They're not meant to be wherever. And the thing is, you're supposed to, you can place them this way. Now, I think some people are, had the issue of this as being like, okay, but now if I play this, someone's automatically going to know that is one of the hazards. It's like, yes, that's true. They're going to know you placed that. And if they see you have mine, they're going to know that's your mine and not to hit it. So I guess you could just play it straight up. So I guess there's a debate. Should these have been red like the rest of them so they could have gotten mixed in? Maybe had the set symbol on the other side just so you knew that that's what it was for. Or does it make a difference? I think, just drop these on the board like this. Who cares? If you want to have them this way just for the sake of seeing them as red versus a black thing, then do that. You do get a 4th one, just in case you need it for whatever else you want to do, but that's interesting. We have paint treads. If the guy assigned to this car is 3 or less, do not reveal the face-down hazard token on its space. It enters this turn. If you end your turn on a face-down hazard, reveal it. So you can drive over stuff quicker. Off-road suspension. This car starts on a road space. It may use the road dice regardless of where it moves. Assault bumper. When this card moves to another card in a slam, move the car 1 extra space the same direction. Boost switch. This car gains +1 move. The punt gun. This can shoot up to 2 spaces away. Spoiler. The road die is always treated as 2 for this car. So again, that's kind of a neat thing because yes, then you don't have to worry about getting the 1, but it also negates you ever getting a 3. You're always guaranteed the consistent 1, but you never get the low, but you never get the high. So it's an interesting idea. Stability control. If this car would be moved in a slam, you may reroll the direction dice. Anti-aircraft radar. If this car ends a turn on the same space as a chopper, you may move this car to any adjacent space. Heavy frame. This car can have an additional damage token before it becomes inoperable. Sandbags. If this car is involved in a slam, the opponent may not reroll the slam dice or the direction dice. Deep treads. Muddy spaces count as road spaces for this car. The crumple zone. I love the artwork on these cars too, on these pictures. This car takes damage, draw 2 damage tokens, pick 1, discard the other. We have the oil dispensers, who also get 3 oil tokens. Have the same picture on the back there. You could get a 4th one just in case. After you move, you may place an oil slick in an empty space adjacent to your car. So again, it's set to trap down. The railgun. This car can shoot up to 3 spaces directly in front of it. Roll cage. If this car be moved by a slam into another car, you may place it in an adjacent empty space instead. Heavy machine gun. When you shoot this card, you may reroll the shooting die. Smoke screen. Vehicles may not shoot this car from directly behind it. Onboard computer. Ignore the effects of damage tokens on this car. Place them face down. Ghost mode. When this card drifts, it gains +2 move. Armored plating. Shooting result of any against this car is treated as a miss. The grappling hook. If this car shoots another car and hits after resolving the damage, you may swap spaces with them. The snowplow. A car enters a space with a wreck or inoperable vehicle. You may place the wreck or inoperable vehicle in an adjacent empty space and continue moving. So like a minor cow catch, like the big rig. The skull shift knob. This car does not have to use all of its moves. And then finally the big red button. When this car becomes inoperable, you may choose to eliminate it. If you do, it also eliminates all adjacent cars and choppers. This could be a very good way to get rid of them choppers that are trying to infuriate you. Alright, so then the last thing we have with this expansion is they did give us 2 extra blank tiles, which are hazard tiles, which like I was saying just previously, it'd be fun to have more things where you could make your own stuff up. This is kind of a neat way to do that. I have 2 extra tokens. I can go ahead and make up my own hazard things, but I'd love to have like a full expansion of other things, even maybe some extra of these in that too, so I could then draw new pictures or do extra new effects, but 2 doesn't really help me a whole lot. But it's still a neat idea. It's an interesting direction to that concept. Alright, I think what we're going to do is I'm actually going to end the video here. I know we have 2 more expansions to go. The full auto and the German expansion, which are ones that were like free with the thing and the maximum chrome. So we're going to do that and the unboxing in the 3rd video, because this one's gotten pretty long. Alright, so hop back in. See you guys in part 3. Bye.